Welcome back to TripleKO. I am Matt McMuscles. I have next to me in these little boxes that you see, Justin Wong. Maximilian, unfortunately couldn't join us this week because I think he's doing some holiday family stuff. But we have Mr. Tangy Tomato Sauce in a small packet himself, Ryan, aka Ketchup. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. Hopefully everyone had a nice sort of festive season, New Year and all that. It's 10 o'clock in the UK and it's really cold out, so I've got my dressing gown on. If anyone's got an issue with that, then I don't know. Deal with it, I suppose.
People can't even tell.
I like the cozy. The audio only listeners can't tell, but like for video ones, you look quite cozy. I'm actually sort of jealous. So.
Oh, I am as cozy as I look. I promise you. I promise you.
So yeah, there's a few news stories we can cover this week, but we also thought this would be a great time to look back on 2024 and what's coming up in 2025 in the vein of fighting games. When Max joins us again in our next episode, we'll probably get like a little bit of his perspective on that. Yeah.
Totally.
But yeah, starting off, like, of course, right after we finished recording the last episode, SNK decided to announce a new character or an old character for Fatal Fury City of the Wolves. Justin, do you have anything to say about Gato? Are you a Gato fan? I can't really remember.
I'm a Gato fan. I actually played him in Mark of the Wolves a lot before I discovered B. Jeanette. And I played him a lot in King of Fighters 11.
Yeah.
And then also when he came out for 15, it was really exciting as well too. But this redesign of Gato is insane. Like, sick. You know, because everything about him is really cool. Like, he has like this aura. He has a back stance. And I'm like, these are all different moves. Like, he's really transformed into a brand new character from what it seems like. So now to me, when I want to play City of Wolves, he might be the one that I want to play the most because he seems like he might have the most sauce in the game.
They really like, he's already a badass in Garo 1 and every other subsequent thing, but they like went even more like, okay, now he's blind. Now his costume's a bit darker, and it seems like, like he's not. I think at some point in Garo, it was like Hotaru was kind of like, maybe I can make him good again, and maybe I can like reconnect with him, and be like, no, that didn't work. Like he went the opposite. So, like he looks really interesting, and it's pretty cool that. I think in every situation so far, SNK has not reused any like Garo from KOF 15 style characters. Like they just, I think early on,
brand new makeover,
exactly.
Pretty much.
And like for like in terms of their kit and their design, we kind of were thinking when the game was first announced, like, hey, I wonder if they'll just grab like the character models and animations from 15 and just do that. But it seems like they're not, which is pretty sick.
So Matt, you know, since you said he was blind, like I was reading the bio, I gotta correct you a little bit. He was nearly being blinded from the previous tournament. Okay. Gato recovered his sense of sight since the vicious attack. However, after realizing that very sense is what makes his movement sluggish,
he just closes his eyes.
He now willingly fights in complete darkness. So he chooses to fight blind. That's crazy, right?
Imagine if Kenshi got blinded for a bit, then he's like, you know what? I was better off that way. And
that's
then
what
just
I'm saying.
Puts the bandana on and just leaves it.
Well, Kenshi cheats, to be fair, because his sword still like gives him like mad assist. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like gives him Daredevil vision, which is like, you know, essentially cheating. But yeah, I did not know that. Thank you for that correction, because I was just like, I saw his eyes closed. I was like, oh, he's just doing a guts thing, where he's like, I'm just gonna keep my eyes closed and not like have a bandana or whatever. But that's sick. I was more powerful that way, so I'm just gonna keep it going.
It's pretty good.
But yeah, like Gato. So who is potentially left? There is Jaehoon, Hokuto and Freeman,
and Kane.
And Kane. And he was on the original artwork where SNK teased the game like back in the day. What, 3 years ago now? 4. So yeah, I think those are characters that all come back. But I still think that Joe and Andy are just going to be DLC at this point.
Joe ain't coming back. It's done. Preacher is Joe. I'm just saying there.
Hell Pockets is not going to want to hear that. Like every day he's like, Joe, I think he's coming back.
Yo, he tweeted out, yo, can we get the Joe reveal already? And I just replied with a picture of Preacher.
Yeah. And he's like, But so we were thinking last episode, like, oh, geez, SNK are about due to reveal a character because the game comes out in late April. And there's at least a few more slots left in the lineup of the number of characters that they were saying. I think they're probably done with new characters. Yeah, like I don't see a new character coming out. I think it's just gonna be old hits from now on. I don't know. I just get that vibe.
Well, I think if it's close to release and you look at a lot of fighting games, you're trying to like stagger the hype in various ways. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's quite a common thing that when a fighting game is about to have like, not quite launch trailer territory, but they've got one more in them, it's pretty common that fighting games will like save a fan favorite return.
Yeah, that's true.
For like that right near the launch window. And that for me just generally seems to be something that we see quite a lot because it makes sense when companies do, because it's right. People are excited for all sorts of different things. And then right before the game's out, hit them with someone that everyone really wants to see. And then, try and just amplify all the excitement that builds.
For lack of a better term, they kind of blew their load early by revealing Mai a little.
I really wish you...
And Ken and Chun-Li.
Yeah, well, I wish you use a different phrase there, but you know what? You're right.
Like I said, lack of a better one. I couldn't think of another one at that particular time frame.
Well, you got the double barrel with Mai in Street Fighter 6 as well.
Yeah.
SNK characters are getting around. It's cool to see.
They are.
Like,
how many new characters are in the game? There's Vox, Preacher. That's the only two I can think about. Is it only two?
No, I think that's it. Yeah.
Right? It's Vox and Preacher, right?
Yeah, maybe a third one would be in there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Or maybe 4. I feel like 4 is like a perfect number of like new characters.
Because I think like style.
When I think about New Challenger, Street Fighter 4 had 4 new characters. When Mortal Kombat 10 came out, the Young Guns, right? Like how many
kids? Yeah.
There was actually quite a lot. You had the Combat Kids, you had Devora, you had Kotal, Aaron Black, Ferrator. Yeah,
that was a lot actually. Yeah, that was a lot.
Ton of new characters.
Yeah, that was a lot actually.
Okay, but actually that goes into City of the Wolves because MKX was like a big ass time jump, but so is this. Like it's like at least something like a couple of years since Garo in the timeline. I'm not sure if SNK has exactly said, but it's at least like 5 years, something like that. So we'll see, but yeah, maybe you're right. Now you said like 2, I'm like, maybe there's at least one, if not another. I really want that black dude that was in the original sprites for Garo 2 in the late 90s, early 2000s. That dude with like the fur jacket, and he was kind of like a black Yamazaki, and I'm like, ooh, he looks sick. I'd like to see him come back, but I think there'll at least be one in DLC, like one new character. It's going to be Ken, Chun-Li, new character, and then maybe old character. That makes sense to me for a combat pack. Unless
SNK is counting like, we got new characters. Look, we got Mai. She's new to the Garo universe. And then Chun-Li, Ronaldo, whatever that's about.
Yeah, what happened to Ronaldo?
I forgot about that. I forgot about that. My favorite thing about that was seeing people on Twitter be like, or X, if you want to be weird about it. I remember someone said on Twitter, I think it actually might have been like Broski or something. It was like, dude, what the hell? I whiffed a sweep like half screen away from Ronaldo and he fell on the floor holding his ankle.
And then
what's going on here?
A ref suddenly comes out and like awards him the match.
Red card, penalty, free win.
Is soccer not being that big of a thing in North America? Is Ronaldo, like across Europe, if you were to say this fighting game has Ronaldo in some fashion, is that like a big get? Like, does that really
is a
help
big get.
out? Yeah.
Because if you think about it, I think it's a big get. You have IShow Speed, right? He loves Ronaldo, and he would just anything Ronaldo, he's like, I'm in there,
so
right?
Gonna pimp it out,
so, imagine if he played City of the Wolves.
Right, okay.
Everyone will probably try it out, or or it will go viral on social media that he's playing a fighting game.
But I still don't think he'll be a playable character.
I think it's a stage.
I think it's a stage with a character, his character model, like hyping it up or something.
Well, Tekken Tag 2 was it Snoop Dogg that was in Tag 2?
It was a stage, yeah.
Yeah, it was
but
a stage,
Snoop Dogg was in the background of the stage, like hyping it up. So it's like, yeah, that makes the most sense to me. Unless you do like a rival schools type thing, you just have a soccer player character just like kicking balls into people and do bicycle kicks and shit.
I mean, I'm curious to see what the crossover interest will be because I'm only speaking as a guy from the UK where football was huge. Footy fans and SNK, let alone fighting game fans. Not really.
Not a ton
one
of
and the same
crossover
over
right?
here. Yeah. So it's I think it was more starting a fight and crashing up a pub. Is more what you sort of remember from extreme football fans in the UK. But I mean, I think it's one of the big hooks there is definitely the South American.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
South America and football is insanity.
Yeah,
super passionate.
I have to remind myself of how insane it is because when I was in Italy a little while, like last year, we're going down like where all the pubs are and where all the restaurants are, and we're seeing like these religious images where like there's these paintings of like these men and they have halos or wreaths around them, and I was like, that's not Jesus, who is that? And they're like, that's this player, that's this player. Like it is like
serious
they're basically
business.
Gods, So yeah, I can definitely see how that's gonna help. But yeah, Stage and his character model, maybe like an announcer, like KOF 15 had the black dude with the glasses, and he was like, "Hey, I'm here reporting on like the KOF tournament." Maybe he's gonna be like a sportscaster doing like analysis on the matches or something. I think that's good synergy.
My gut tells me the biggest amount of presence with him having to do the lowest amount of work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I imagine his time is probably valuable times a million. So like,
he ain't grinding no City of the Wolves.
Yeah. Anything that can just get him in and out.
He came in for the face scan and maybe that's it type thing, like to get the textures.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly.
All right, so kind of following that, SNK did have kind of a vague other announcement that it seems like they're establishing their own like their own label just for fighting games. SNK, what was it, like SNK Studios? Or
it's like a new studio.
KOF Studio.
Yeah.
And even though it's KOF, they're saying like this will fall under like all of their fighting games. So I'm just like, that's an interesting thing. I'm like wondering if that's going to be like this new logo, KOF Studio, is just going to appear as branding on all their fighting games. And I guess that's another way of diversifying and saying, hey, this is one of our fighting games. The only reason you need to do that is if you plan to do more not fighting games. Like I know
that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, cause they released, Metal Slug Tactics like a month or two ago, and I think there's another Metal Slug game that was kind of semi-announced.
I think it's a mobile version.
Yeah, there's a mobile
Metal
one.
Slug Tactics was mobile, but then it became a full game.
Yeah,
and then they just had that announcement. I don't know if it's playable yet with the Naraka Blade Point, where they have the King of Fighter skins in the game. Mm-hmm. So that's a new SNK thing as well too. Maybe that's part of the branding, is that they're trying to maybe Street Fighter it up with Luke and Chun-Li, with everybody. Do you want to collab with Luke and Chun-Li? Maybe it's like Terry and Mai. That might be their two new characters to do that, right?
Because the actual details of it were like kind of...
It's pretty vague, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty vague. It's like, this is for our 30th anniversary of King of Fighters. It brings it with a new milestone, the launch of the all-new KOF Studio. So it does seem like it's something where it's like, if you do want to collab with us, this is the exact department studio that you want to contact. And They also, I think a little while ago, SNK did that soft announcement saying, yeah, we're working on a new Sam Show game, but it's an action RPG. So I wonder where that would fall under, like, because technically, a different genre, but it's still a fighting game IP. So
it could be like Onimusha style.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, I could see that. When I think of Samurai Shodown RPG, I think of like, you know, the RPG that got released in Japan in the 90s.
Do you think that because of that RPG, the old RPG, and then it got localized and everybody like made a big deal about it on social media, like, hey, you know what? Maybe we should look into Samurai Shodown as a non-fighting game.
It's a world that's rich enough. I'm currently right now doing like an extensive deep dive, making a retrospective on the entire Sam Show RPG, and I didn't even know that like all of the mainline games are like crazy in their chronology. It's like Street Fighter. It's like Alpha, even though it came out after. Alpha's a prequel.
Yeah.
Then 4 comes before 3, and so does 5. I didn't know that until like I started like sitting down. I'm like, wait, 5 is the first one? Like 5 is the first Sam Show.
I mean, I didn't know that until you just said that. Yeah.
And like 3 and 4 take place between 1 and 2. It's crazy. So there's a lot of stuff there. So I could see them doing that like pretty well with an RPG. But KOF Studio, again, we'll see what it really does. Maybe they're gonna be branching out to like anime. Maybe we can finally get like a good KOF animated series or something, because the CG animated one, KOF Destiny, was a little rough.
Don't forget about the live action.
I try to forget about the live action. Ryan,
I hit live action fighting game and it already.
Have you ever seen the KOF live action movie?
No, but now you've said it, I'm going to. What's the easiest way to actually watch it?
You can watch it on YouTube.
I'm pretty sure.
Is it on YouTube?
I'm pretty
I want to say it's on YouTube, yeah.
You can either get like a full, like someone just uploaded it, or it's just available as a YouTube rental, like for like $2 or whatever. But yeah, it's amazing because it is the bollocks that like you want, right? It's not like boring. It's just so silly.
It's bad.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's bad.
When did it come out?
Sorry?
When did it come out?
Like 2009, 2010.
Sounds about right.
Kyo Kusanagi is played by like just a white man. He's just like, I'm Kyo Kusanagi. What's up? Like, it's amazing. So it's so 2009. And the really crazy part, the part that just fascinates me, is that Terry Bogard is played by David Leitch. I forget always how to pronounce his last name. But what the co-creator of John Wick and the director of Deadpool 2 and Atomic Blonde, I think, and Fall Guy, that movie from last year, and like Bullet Train. Like, he was just a stunt actor, and like he had this role as Terry in KOF.
Is he the guy that was also, he was Brandon, if I'm thinking of the right person, I think it was also Brandon Lee's stunt double in The Crow.
He's related. It's either the other guy that was the co-creator of John Wick. It's either the other guy or it's semi-related. So you're kind of on the right track there. But just actor that should not like. Okay, we're going too much into it.
No, yeah, just watch it, and then you'll be like, all right. This movie is ass.
Yeah,
I'll give you my official feedback at a later date.
Yes, please give me a book report on my desk. And
I need the Rotten Tomatoes from you. You know what I mean?
100. Best movie I've ever seen.
I would love if KOF Studio produced a new live action KOF movie. So moving on from that, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite and Beyond launched in between our last episode and this one. 50,000 downloads, spiked up the Steam numbers from it by 2,000%. There is a 7K tournament online that went down. Justin, you've played it quite a bit. I've only dabbled in training. I haven't had a second to really get into it. But how are you feeling about how it is, the changes, visuals, and whatnot?
So I never really got into MVCI personally. Like I played it in like I would say the first 3 months, and after that I'm just kind of like, all right, that's it. That's it, right? That's the game. So Beyond, I would say it has like the amazing visual look. They had some patches and everything, but it doesn't really affect me because I haven't played the game long enough to really feel the differences, right? But I would say that I enjoy that this arcade mode was super challenging because it's been a very long time since I think in history, there's never been a Marvel vs. Capcom arcade mode that has been hard,
Super
fun, and everything, super challenging, anything like that. It's just never been like that, right? So the fact that when you fight Sigma Ultron, he's just really hard. Like I couldn't beat him with my team, and it was just insane. And they also and you have to try to do it in frenzy mode where it's pretty much dramatic battle style.
Yeah,
like that's just so hard, but also so fun at the same time. So I really enjoyed that. I haven't played like people or online yet, but it seems like a lot of people have been playing in it because obviously there was a $7,500 tournament from that Tampa Never Sleep brand.
Yeah,
I think Max donated 1,000.
Nice.
Of that pot. So the fact that it raised that much money for an MVCI Beyond tournament, I think that's kind of crazy. I really think that's kind of crazy. I hope the game actually gets its due flowers because it's one of those games that like everybody was like, yeah, I'd rather play Dragon Ball instead than MVCI.
Timing,
that's how the timing of it. So all the players that have stuck playing the game, they still play it. There's always a weekly for MVCI before Beyond came out, and now they're using Beyond. So it's just really cool to see that like that scene is like finally like getting like people interested playing their game, people coming back to playing the game. It's just something cool, and the fact that Max and his team put all that effort and money into it, it's just really insane, and you could see how much love and passion is in that project alone, right?
Yeah, because even just on a very casual level, just watching it, you're just like, it feels like like 1,000 times better just to look at it as it's being played, because it does invoke like like an Arxis style or like art style to it, and it just seems such more vibrant and exciting to watch. And then I've went back and watched like actual just launched vanilla Infinite. I'm just like, wow, it is.
Yeah, it's bad.
It is bad. Like it just by comparison. Like at the time, I was like, yeah, it looks rough for sure. But like now that you have this other like visual identity to compare it to, it's just like, why would you ever go back to that? Like, it'd be really like even though Capcom seems very content with like letting this mod go on, because you need to own Infinite and on Steam to even really get this mod working. That seems to be a key component for allowing like mods to exist and such. Is like it has to be something where it's like they encourage everyone to purchase the game for it to be fine with the rights holders and stuff. But it'd be super cool. It's like, I doubt it'll ever happen, but it's like if they could somehow fold this into the main game and make it official. But I mean, I'm sure that's
that would be hard.
Yeah, probably beyond the technical like powers.
I think the biggest thing that you could take away is like hopefully this game will come back to like major events.
Yeah.
Right, I think that would be pretty cool that people can play like, even if it's a side tournament, just like an interest. I think that would be pretty cool. Give it some stream time, people could see it. But I think in general, like the online community is definitely preserved. So that's the really cool part.
I'm trying to think of other instances where a fighting game has received such a like gigantic community mod that has just been wonderful for the game and has almost completely transformed it and been allowed. That's the incredible thing. I mean, I know this isn't the first time something has happened, but the sheer scale of this Infinite project is, I didn't play a huge amount of Infinite. I played it a bit when it came out, like everyone did, but a lot of the reasons I stopped playing it were kind of the same reasons a lot of other people. I just didn't like how it looked. It was just a bit uncomfortable to play because I'm not like a legacy Marvel guy at all. So having the freedom of all the Infinity Stones or whatever were like cool, but it was a bit overwhelming for me and stuff like that. Just being able to watch people play it now years later when, this game is more than figured out. Everyone knows, all this cool, crazy stuff. And then you've got all this extra stuff on top that just makes it, as a casual viewer, just feel like more of a Marvel vs. Capcom game.
Definitely.
And then you just realize that, this is just the tireless efforts of so many hardworking people. It's sick, man.
I think the last time there was something like that was shut down by Nintendo, Project M.
Oh yeah.
You know what? You're right.
Project
yeah,
M.
that's
Yeah,
comparable.
so that was when Brawl, everyone was like, Brawl sucks because of the tripping mechanic and everything. So they made their own Project M. They were running in tournaments for a very long time, and then Nintendo shut it down, where you just cannot have this tournament like at all. So they had to like really just remove it from every Smash tournament in general. I don't see that with MVCI be happening, but if it did get like big, maybe when it comes to a major tournament, but if it's like right here where it's keeping a circle of like online tournaments and everything, I feel like Marvel and Capcom would just be like, yeah, I don't see that, even though they see it. You know what I mean? That's what I think.
Because again, at the end of the day, it's like, copies needed to be purchased for it versus where it's like Project M was like, there was no digital distribution for Brawl. Therefore, you had discs and therefore they had to be hacked and and again, Nintendo way more strict on that stuff, obviously. But yeah, I think like Project M is the only other thing of even close to that scale, because the only other thing I can think is reshades on PS2 emulated fighting games or something, and that's
exactly.
That's basic. That's not even close to it. But we'll probably check in with Max about it. But all the efforts of him and his team, lots of people, like music people as well. Little V Mills contributed to that, so he's a good friend of the show as well. And just the timing of it worked out perfectly, where it's like hype for Marvel was already like at the highest it could be because of the collection coming out just like a month or two before that, 2 months ago, and then this coming out is like, hopefully this is like a double whammy of like showing Capcom and Marvel that maybe people like this stuff, maybe we could do something new in the future that's more official. But
the world of modding for Marvel is incredible. I mean, even
Marvel
MVC3, the people that just, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but people putting like new characters in it, whether it's like using existing animations or whatever and trying to like somewhat rework them or whatever the case may be. Yeah, like just seeing, even that's cool. I saw that video on social media the other day of someone that's just straight up put Dio in
Dragon Ball
Fighters.
That was so good.
I just saw it pop up out of nowhere, and I'm just like, the stuff that people are able to do is fantastic. Really, really sick stuff.
Yeah, because like,
where does the limit end? That's what I wonder.
Well, like versus like 10, maybe 15 years ago, it's like people just didn't have the tools like available or the know-how. But now, just like since a lot of engines and information is out there over the last couple of years, like people can just get their hands dirty and really get, outside of like, Mortal Kombat, Mugens, there wasn't all that much going on, but now it's like almost any game is susceptible to that, and for the positives of the community to keep it alive. We'll check in back with Max when he returns to kind of get his thoughts on everything that went into it. But I'm sure he's glad that his work is done and that he leaves it in the hands of the community. Because, like,
can you imagine that sigh of relief when it's like it's ready?
Yeah,
it's like when you finish a big video, but this is like times 1,000.
Times a whole year of work.
And it's, I know you mentioned Mugens. I've just got a... I feel like if we're talking about fighting game modding, there's actually some cool stuff in Mortal Kombat as well. That there's a guy called Ermacker who does official modding. Ermacker, yeah,
that's a great name.
He mods 3D. He actually creates a lot of tools, really really useful modding tools and stuff. But he also has gone into, I don't know how he's done it. Goes into 3D Mortal Kombat, mostly Deception, and is adding characters from other 3D MKs almost completely preserved or slightly changed, and is adding other characters from modern games. So he's put like Tremor in Deception, he's put Sector, Cyrax in Deception, other characters too. Serena, who... A lot of the basis of Serena, I believe, is not only from Armageddon, but it was from her Game Boy Advance appearance, which was technically Serena's very first appearance before Armageddon. And it's just like there's all kinds of really cool modding, even in, when we look at Mortal Kombat, you normally think of just Mugen and that's it. Even the official Mortal Kombat games, are starting to have that element of community attention where people are really trying to figure this stuff out. It's really cool to see.
That is cool, because like I watched a video from Matt, and he was playing a Mortal Kombat 2 Mugen, and that's what made me play that one, and I was like, wow, this one is fantastic.
One's awesome.
It's so good. So
Kane and
I'm
the
a big fan of
Undertaker.
that. Yeah, it's so good.
And the impressive thing about the 3D Mortal Kombat modding is just because it's like whenever there's a game that does not have a PC release, it's like 1,000 times more complicated to get into it. So when I've talked to people that work at Night Dive, for example, that do lots of remasters, like
I love Night Dive.
Yeah, when they get like their hands on a property that has a PC version, they're like, that's great. That makes things 1,000 times easier. And like the 1 or 2 games I think they've done where it's like there wasn't a PC version. In the case that I'm thinking of, Turok 3.
Shadow of Oblivion.
Yeah, like that one. It's like I still don't know how they modded that to be as good as it is. Like PC, when there's a PC version like for Turok 1 and 2, I understand. Yeah. They can work off something, and when there isn't, so like 3D Mortal Kombat Deception, I'm just like, that's incredible. Like I did hear about Ermacher before, but I kind of like forgot about it, and I do want to check that stuff out because that's the most sound plan you can do. Which 3D Mortal Kombat do you get? It doesn't matter. You take Deception. The other two are not really a consideration. But
he did actually. One of my favorite things he put together was for anyone that enjoys Shaolin Monks. He's got a ROM hack called the Shaolin Monks Hook, where anyone that remembered using Game Shark or Action Replay for us in the UK to mod in different playable characters, but you had to wrestle with a lot of like menus and it would crash and whatever else. He's actually put together a ROM hack of Shaolin Monks where you can, in the character select, choose any character, NPC or otherwise, to play through the entire game with. Including a easy screen change feature, the ability to reposition yourself if you get possibly soft locked. So if anyone who remembered like using Game Shark for something like Shaolin Monks, there's actually a ROM hack that allows you to do it in the game seamlessly.
I am very interested in this. So remind me, in the single player mode, you can only take Liu Kang, Kung Lao, Sub-Zero, and Scorpion, but all the other characters were available in the versus mode. So like Johnny Cage, Baraka. So now does Johnny Cage and Baraka or Katana or whatever, are they playable in the main game?
You can choose their NPC versions where you fight them as boss fights, or you can choose their versus mode version. Wow. If you choose the versus mode version, you can actually use their fatalities on enemies. The only problem is you don't have... any other character won't have mortality or brutality, so you will soft lock there. Some characters can out of bounds, like Baraka can actually out of bounds his way to the end of the game.
He would.
But because the mod has the ability to seamlessly go from one screen to the next, if you enter a room that you're soft locked, you can literally just skip that room.
That's amazing.
And it's somewhat simulating a full playthrough, even if you're not going to get every single room. But it's just fun to do it, really, especially with 2 players actually, because you can co-op it. It supports the 2 players, so you can both do it.
I know it's out of his hands, but every couple of months, I just want to bug someone, not specifically Ed, but mostly Ed. It's like, is Shaolin Monks just never gonna happen? Like a remaster? I'll take a remaster. I'll take the most basic remaster in the world. Can I get you into contact with the people at Night Dive, please? Like anything, like, because very, very good memories on that, especially playing the versus mode. So.
Spectacular. I don't believe the versus mode was always meant to be there. I might be getting my wires crossed here, but
you mean like it was a late edition?
I heard it was a later edition. Yeah,
that makes sense.
It was meant to be. I'm sure I heard that from someone that actually worked on the game, but I could be completely misremembering because it was a long time ago. Even the secret endurance mode was in there.
Oh yeah,
it's still in the game, but you've got to walk on water basically to be able to run it. It's so secretive, but that was a thing that they put in and ran out of time and just went, right, we're gonna stick it in as is, and if anyone finds it, good for them.
That's a Mortal Kombat secret. It makes people will look.
Yeah, very much so.
Speaking of Mortal Kombat, there was 2 little things that kind of came up lately where the voice actress behind Jade kind of made a statement saying like their stuff is happening with Jade, stories to be told, and Jade is one of the rumored characters to have been included into Combat Pack 3. So that is kind of in contention with the rumor from a few weeks back saying that maybe Combat Pack 3 is not coming out or is canceled or it's being retooled. And then Kung Jin from MKX apparently had a little image leaked out. Looks like his character model is somewhere in Mortal Kombat 1 in the files, or it's possibly a mod that someone did.
It's likely in there anyway.
It's likely in there anyway. It just says like him or just his gear.
Kung Jin, because at the end of MK1, the final chapter where you're going up the pyramid, there is a cutscene where all 4 of the combat kids are there. And I think Kitana fights them for you.
I completely forgot.
Yeah. Any character you pick, the 4 of them come down the stairs, and then Kitana comes in and is like, "I got this," and then she kills them all.
Wow, okay.
But Kung Jin is that. I'm fairly. I could be wrong here, but I think what he's wearing in that cutscene is from the file, which is, I think, I saw some people compare him there to be like MK11 Ermac, where Ermac had a costume that a lot of people really liked, but he was doomed to just be in the crypt and dead. That was just him. I think I saw some people make that comparison because they saw Kung Jin wearing this really cool costume that was made for MK1, but he was in it just as a cutscene so Kitana can murder him. So there is a possibility that, maybe one day we would see Kung Jin. But for me, if he is in the game somehow, like file-wise, it would make the most sense that that's just his model in the cutscene. Right. But I don't know if that would... maybe not, because you don't fight him. He's only in the cutscene. So in theory, he would just be in a video or something. I don't know how game dev works. But...
I did want to get your take on what you're feeling about the rumors surrounding Combat Pack 3. Whether totally. To me, it's still just like crazy that it would such an amount of content would be considered to just be canceled. Like that, just once money starts getting spent, it's it's always a 50-50 shot whether they decide to go through with it or not. And I don't think like low sales of Chaos Reigns, they'd be so low that they would just cancel future content. That seems like crazy to me. But what's your take on it, Ryan?
Well, I think I remember seeing online. I think people must have paid attention to a recent Warner Brothers call of some sorts, where I know that supposedly. And again, this is all just from what I'd seen on social. So again, don't take my word as gospel, but people said that they want to focus on their main IPs, which I think were like Batman, Harry Potter, and Mortal Kombat. Yeah. Specifically, Mortal Kombat was mentioned. It'd be really weird for me for them to mention that they want to focus on their main IPs, of which they consider Mortal Kombat a main IP, and then just kill all content for MK1. Like that for me, it's like 2 different things going against each other. Yeah. So it would be very confusing to me if there was absolutely no content after we've had these 3 guests, because also release plans, it would be very strange for the year's content to just be now Terminator and Conan. That would be odd, especially for like modern Mortal Kombat, which there's normally a fair few DLC characters, and as far as I'm aware, they always do quite well. Yeah. I would just love to see more content, because I feel like I'm crazy sometimes for being someone that actually enjoys playing Mortal Kombat 1. Like, I like it a lot more than I liked Mortal Kombat 11. It's certainly not my favorite NetherRealm Mortal Kombat. That would still be MK9 for me. It's a bit of a battle between X and 1 as to which one I prefer, because there's elements to both that I love. I guess it might be the things that frustrate me more than the other might dictate which one's number 2. But I genuinely really like the roster for MK1, and that's something that I hope they build on with more classic characters.
I would love to play MKX, but it looks like MK11. Just like graphically, like the fidelity of it and the way the characters look. Because whenever I go back to MKX, Johnny's face is weird. So many characters' faces are just off to me, and there's just the animations, not like. But everything else about MKX, I prefer personally, like in terms of gameplay.
Everyone looks really sweaty in MKX, don't they?
Yeah.
And when a character,
it's so fun though. The combos and everything about MKX is my favorite.
Yeah.
And I'm completely understand why people say that about MKX. Like, as a competitor, it was the most stressful game I ever played, especially earlier when it was even more like 50-50 focused and there was even more broken stuff. But I just love the I love the cameo system, mostly because I'm a huge 3D MK fan. Anyone that follows our channel knows how
I haven't
big Mr.
noticed.
and
I hadn't noticed that at all. You keep it so hidden.
we love 3D Mortal Kombat. It's our favorite era of Mortal Kombat because it was the most nostalgic. You know, we were kids, we were teenagers when that was a thing. So so many of those characters being back in MK1 and being really fun to play was a huge hook for us. You know, I never gave a damn about Darius before, but he's one of my favorite cameos in MK1. So it's like the ability to somewhat still reinvent characters that we hadn't seen for over a decade, sometimes almost 20 years, is something I very, very much like. Wasn't as huge of a fan of playing as base Sector, which might be a shock to some people. I actually still think I prefer playing Rain in that game because I can just pick the Sector cameo. So I've still got Sector with me.
There you go. Going on your point about it, there's two different things going on at Warner Brothers. What's also weird to me is you have another movie coming out in 2025, a new Mortal Kombat movie, but your games division's going to not have anything ready for that. Costumes, you know, skins, whatever. There's just going to be nothing prepared because you're going to announce, let's say in 3 months, oh, there's no more Mortal Kombat 1 content. Like that also doesn't jive. Like you would think when a company has a big movie division, then a games division, it would just seem like that's still money being left on the table, at least in a casual perspective. Like, you know, and I'm anticipating the second movie to like be better than the first. There's a lot of statements from the people that are working on it. There's a brand new writer on it, the director. It's like, yeah, we're really trying to focus on the things people liked. We're going to have a tournament be the focus of the movie story, et cetera, et cetera. So like that might be great. The first movie did really well on streaming. Like it did better than some DC properties, superhero movies did on streaming back in 2021. So, but Warner Brothers is going to be like, nah, the game, no, just abandon it. Like that also doesn't make sense to me. Like, but then again, Warner Brothers has done weird stuff that I'm like, you're doing what? You're canceling this, or you're, you know, putting this somewhere else? That makes no sense. So, you know, I just like to think that, that sanity will prevail and that, you know, content for that will continue because Mortal Kombat's still too big of a property just to give up on it, you know?
Yeah.
It's very rare that you'll have a company will have a video game that has movie potential as well, which is a big one. Like Mortal Kombat is, you know, it's been hit and miss on the old cinema screen, but when it's been good, it's been really good, and when it's been bad, obviously it's been the complete opposite direction. But it's not common to own a fighting game that has an element of success with cinema. So yeah, I pretty much agree that it would be very weird to do pretty much nothing.
Like cross media potential.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's the term I was looking for, to be honest.
We'll see if that, you know, like, I'd imagine if we don't hear anything about more Mortal Kombat content in the next, like, couple months, it's like, well, then, you know, EVO's essentially right around the corner. And if, like, we don't hear anything about after that or around that time frame, that would be crazy to me. Like,
it would all be confusing because we have news coming out about pro competition soon because they announced they're doing a season 2 of the Pro Tour. They've given no extra info other than it exists, but I believe this is the month where they're giving a lot more information. The first event is, I think, in Mexico City. So that event has already been listed as a pro comp event, but they haven't listed any of the other events. So I'm assuming they're going to do some kind of roadmap. But again, that to me feeds into it would make no sense to do nothing because you've got a year 2 of a Pro Tour. You've only got 2 characters on the way now, both of which are guest characters. Which is
Conan this month? Is Conan for January?
January 21st, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, Conan's not far off.
And then
there'll be a combat cast and everything.
Then the T-1000 from the hot movie Terminator 2.
Fresh off the press, baby.
In cinemas, right? I'd understand if if this was the 30th anniversary or like whatever, the 35th anniversary, whatever, however fucking long ago it was now, of Terminator 2. I could kind of understand, oh, it's getting a theatrical re-release in 3D or whatever, 4K, et cetera, et cetera. If there was like a big Terminator 2 month and the Terminator anime that came out last year was coming out in 2025, I could understand that. But it's like, I don't think that's happening, unfortunately. Like, it's not a big Terminator 2 year, right?
I mean, gameplay-wise, I'd rather play the T-1000 than the T-800.
Yeah, that's true. You don't want to play as a gun character? You crazy?
Guns can be nice. You know, I didn't care for Rambo at all, I'll tell you that much. Yeah. But he didn't necessarily play like a gun character. He had that one move where he pulled out his M60s, and that move was ass, so no one did. So he was more like slashy knife command grabby man. Actually, some gameplay similarities between Ghostface and Rambo were pretty apparent.
Yeah, even down to the knife stuff, yeah.
Yeah. They both had the crawl stance and everything else. But yeah, that's sort of like mid up close knife game with command grab, like very similar gameplay.
The T-1000 better have a reference to Jax's MK3 fatality, because like that is the one where it's like I'm watching that for the first time in 1995 and just going, wow, they love Terminator 2 so much. So if he doesn't have a reference somewhere, at least in pre-match dialogue, like I would love. Well, no, he couldn't really talk to a cameo, unfortunately, but
I'm telling you, he's gonna have the Glacier from Killer Instinct, the DP.
Glacier's
the puddle into the DP.
Yeah, Justin said this last time, and it's like, yeah, maybe I could see that. You know, Glacius is also very T-1000 coded, but
I want him to be weird.
Yeah,
like especially because we've got Conan first, who, as anyone that's seen the gameplay teaser, Conan looks about as stiff as you would expect. Mm-hmm. None of us were expecting Conan to be like flying across the screen, right? But Conan looks, even for like some of the action figure style guest characters, Conan looks especially stiff.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping he'd be more like a Kotal Khan, and I think a lot of people thought that. And I was talking with Mustard about this, and he made a good point. He was like, part of it really is that Conan's sword is really small, which, if you watch the first movie, he actually doesn't have a huge sword. It's like the next one they made it bigger. So like, and you factor in the fact that Arnie was like huge, right? I think that was the biggest he'd ever got in his life. Training for that film is what the story is. That was his big one, right? So when you put a sword that even is quite big on him, it still looked kind of small. And when you keep the size of that sword from the first film, and then you bring that into a game, it's going to be a little bit like, I don't think disorienting is the right word, but it's just not quite right. You know, you look at someone like Kotal Khan, the sword's as big as he is, and that's why it works. Whereas Conan, he's massive, and I think he's the biggest character in the game, according to what I'd seen one of the animators say on social media. He's the biggest model. But they've kept the sword like almost movie accurate.
I was about to say, like,
so it just looks weird.
Because Kotal Khan, or let's say Tusk in KI 2013, we got our KI 2013 reference in there, is like his sword is like Guts's like sword, Dragon Slayer. Like it's a super wide, the girth. You have to respect it. And like for Conan, it's like, let's look at the movie props. Let's look at his costume and like let's scan them, and maybe they have to be all okayed by the rights holders, that etc. There's all these considerations you have to make for guest characters. So yeah, I could definitely see that being an issue where it's like the sword is not, getting that sense of like raw power or reach, because they're staying movie accurate, which they kind of have to do if there's other rights holders involved. But yeah, that is a good point. I think now we'll throw over into fighting games that we kind of enjoyed throughout 2024. We did talk a bit about this with Guile Winquote a few episodes back, but wanted to get Ryan's take on any of the games, any fighting games that you played this year, continuing ones or brand new ones like Tekken 8. Like, what were you enjoying the most in terms of fighting games in 2024?
So, throughout 2024, I was almost exclusively locked into Mortal Kombat 1. There was just so much competitive action for it. And I was, lucky enough to do a fair amount of traveling, was able to do EVO, was able to do Final Combat, was able to go back to Brazil, and do a video game event that was actually fighting game related, which was nice. The first time I went, I was commentating console Smite. It's so unrelated to everything else. And it was many years ago. So I got to be honest, I didn't play heaps of fighting games as a whole because I had to be in Mortal Kombat mode. Commentary and Pro Comp was what I did. So I got to admit, the only fighting game I really played big time was MK1, which means, I did do a lot of Chaos Reigns. I did experience all the DLC characters that came out throughout the year. I've got a lot to say about all of that, but I don't necessarily have as much to say for the other games.
Yeah, no problem. Like, what is your character of MK1? Like a new character that was released in 2024. Like, I assume one of the Cyber Ninjas, but correct me if I'm wrong there.
I think Chaos Reigns was a really good character pack. I must say, I wasn't really a fan of the Chaos Reigns story. I think that the idea of there being like Titan Havoc and all this stuff was a really cool idea. I just don't think it played out the way a lot of us had hoped.
Right.
A lot of character identity was kind of lost because it's cool having a multiverse and different timelines because hey, you get to see what all these characters are like in other universes. But if you look at the dialogue that the characters spoke in Chaos Reigns, you could have pretty much taken any spoken line and just swapped it around all the different characters and nothing would have changed. Every single character is just chaos is good. You will experience chaos is good. And that's it. That was basically the story as a whole. So can't say I was really big into the story, but I did like what the three characters in, for those that don't know, Noob, Cybot, Cyrax, and Sector, what they did to the game, because all three of them are good. None of them are considered weak. They are, all of them, currently still really being figured out because the cameos are changing all the time. People are going between lots of different cameos trying to find out which is the best. We're currently in the meta of Sector cameo right now because there's a really strong Fatal Blow, which they added in the latest patch where Sector can fire a rocket. And it's kind of like an Injustice Super, where it's kind of armored and it's like immediate on startup, it's full screen. So that's got a lot of strength right now. But yeah, really, I mean, Sector added a lot of range to the game. She's very much got like a lot of zoning potential, but it's not just that. She has other tools too. Cyrax is pretty much perfectly preserved, very annoying and very set play oriented, but kind of only set play. And then Noob Cybot's the weird one because he plays in this game unlike he's ever played before. It's a new take on the character, and there's a lot of really cool potential from like combo damage and combo pathing. Some of the largest combos in the game, but I think really cameo dependent to maximize all that stuff, which I guess is Mortal Kombat 1 in general.
Right.
It's hard to talk about Ghostface because Ghostface is currently not working as intended. There was an infinite discovered about, I can't remember, it was something to do with the knife cancel of something like that, where if a character was stunned, you could cancel a knife and then it would reset the combo and they can't block it. So they've done like a temporary fix. As of this video, this being out now, they've done like a temporary fix to disable the cancel. I imagine they're just going to fix it with Conan and it's not something they can just hot fix. But I look at all the DLC and every bit of it, for the most part, has added into the meta. Besides a couple of characters. I don't really think that Omni-Man did much, and neither did Quan, unfortunately. But a lot of other characters that exist now, they're really healthy additions to the game. Ermac is one of the new wave characters because people have found some like crazy Ermac and Janet Cage combos. Takeda is, there's a super incredible, I believe Brazilian, but South American, just to be safe, Takeda that's like been like crushing it in offline tournaments and is showing people that Takeda's actually like way worth looking at and could be like a real underdog character.
Yeah.
And then you got Peacemaker and Homelander. So I think the DLC itself has actually been pretty damn solid. Mostly hits in terms of like adding to the meta. I just didn't like Peacemaker or Homelander at all.
Yeah, like throughout our like all our episodes throughout 2024, I think Max certainly was like Takeda, love him, and Noob Sabat also really enjoying him, and even the time where me and Justin were playing at the start of the DLC season, Omni-Man and like Peacemaker and Homelander were all kind of like, yeah, these characters, yeah, they're in the game. And like I'm not sure if any of them like really like struck a chord or like you start playing, or am I remembering that wrong, Justin? Like, didn't you like Peacemaker?
Peacemaker was the really good one. I don't know like how much nerfs he had, but at least when I was watching, like everyone was using him a lot, right? And Omni-Man, he was just cool. He had the gimmick. He had the little air combo gimmick where you just keep doing it back and forth, and that's like something casually fun. I actually didn't play Homelander, but I only played Peacemaker and Omni-Man.
Yeah, because I think I got Omni-Man and Peacemaker, and then like I kind of just stopped playing the game. But when Chaos Reigns came out, I did download everything. I just haven't tried any of the characters, and I want to try Noob Sabat. It's just like just time permitting. I did want to ask Ryan if you could like wish a character into existence in the game in 2025, who would you want to see? It's got to be a 3D character, right?
I feel like I almost... Well, look, if I was speaking on behalf of Mustard, it would be Jarek, because Mustard is one of the few unironic Jarek fans.
I don't believe you.
No, did you know Jarek's actually really good in both of his games?
Yeah, too. I've watched your videos about it.
He was amazing in MK4, and he wasn't too shabby in Armageddon. I think the big one for us is actually Hotaru. I think Havoc being in MK1 was sick, but having Havoc and not Hotaru felt a bit strange, because one is the embodiment of chaos, one is the embodiment of order. Mm-hmm. So not having the other was always weird to me.
And they hint at the Order realm and throughout the story and
it's in the game.
Dialogue. Yeah.
Sado. For those that don't know, I'm not going to give you a huge backstory, don't worry. Hotaru is a 3D character, very tall, covered head to toe in armor. I believe, I'm not sure what language it is, but it means firefly in a certain language. It might be Japanese. Which is why his armor is like almost like a carapace, like an insect carapace. And he's a big character. He's one of the tallest characters in the game. And he had this massive like Guandao, this pole arm. And that was kind of his whole thing, was that he was this very big, overbearing character with a giant weapon. Had a lot of like lava, firefly style projectiles and stuff like that. And I always thought he was one of the sickest 3D characters. And one of the characters that if they brought back could do something that we haven't really seen before. A huge character that's not necessarily huge because he's just muscly or a monster.
Just tall.
Just covered head to foot in armor with a giant weapon. A two-handed weapon as well, So, personally, Hotaru is my pick. And Mustard feels very similar as well. We both love that character.
If I was to say one for myself, it's like, I want Onaga in there, like playable as a final, as a third final boss, whatever it may be. But I'd like to see Onaga back, because again, they mention him quite a bit, but he's just not, like he doesn't show up in any guys at the end of Chaos Reigns, right? Because I have not started Chaos Reigns story mode.
They do bring a character back who isn't a human or any of that sort of character in Chaos Reigns, but I won't tell you just in case.
Okay.
But it is from 3D.
Okay. Taven. No.
I wish. Taven and Dagon are actually way up there for me too. I love those characters.
What's wrong with you? Because I hate them. Is there a character you'd like to see in MK1 in 2025, Justin?
I'm so basic. Like because my characters I play are like always gonna make it. Like Raiden, he's gonna make it. Kung Lao's gonna make it. Like people with the hats. But if I had to choose a character I enjoyed when I played a lot of MKX, it would be Jackie. I enjoyed Jackie a lot. Just because maybe I just troll people and just gun spam all day. But her and Cassie Cage, they were both really, really fun. So I wish they kept going with them, because they were kind of like, the combat kids, the future, right? So I hope they come back. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, shout outs to Jade as well. Like, even though she's got kind of was rumored at in the Combat Pack 3 sort of rumors. I would like to see her back as well.
I agree.
Is there like any other fighting games you want to give a shout out to, Ryan, or we want to move on to Justin? Because I know you prefaced this by saying MK1 was your focus, but
it was just nice to see a lot of other fighting games doing well.
Yeah.
When I went to Evo, I did get hands. Actually, thanks to you, setting us up some time. Mustard and I got to play City of the Wolves and had way more fun than we thought we would. It's definitely a game that I'm looking to get my hands on pretty much when it comes out because it was a lot of fun. But yeah, man, I mean, just seeing the fact that Tekken is still thriving, Street Fighter is still thriving. I don't pay any attention to Strive, but it's nice to know that game is constantly to this day getting new content, new updates. Nice to see another game sort of go into that absolute peak of fighting game competition. I know that if you look at the big three of competitive fighting games right now, it's Strive, Tekken, and Street Fighter, and a few years ago, no one would have ever considered Guilty Gear being right at the top of the food chain, with its competition, just because it just wasn't as big as the rest. And then Strive has just completely blown up.
Yeah,
and it's just nice to see games doing well. It kind of goes to show that there's always room for a new game, another franchise, even a franchise you might deem dead or too small or niche.
And we talk about this often, is back in 2012, there was this sense that there's too many fighting games being released, because I think it was just there was just not the fan base for them was just not as big as they are as it is now. Where old heads, new people, back in 2012 when Street Fighter 4 was still going, MK9 was still going, I think at that point. And then Street Fighter Cross Tekken was okay, but then now Ultra Street Fighter 4, and then all the various ports and HD releases and stuff, things were not selling very well. And now it's at least things are selling, pretty well on launch, but then is continuing through DLC, because that's the way the industry is now. And it seems to settle into this sort of market where it's games are just doing fine as they are with all the content coming out, and it seems to be sustaining, along with all the HD collections that are also doing well, the Marvel vs. Capcom collection. Once its physical came out, it shot up again on Amazon as one of the it shot up something 60 points. So it's just nice that everything's still doing well. Of course, there's discourse for every single game. Tekken 8's dead, Street Fighter 6 is dead, MK1 is dead. They're all dead, apparently.
Let's go back to Street Fighter 5, Tekken 7, Mortal Kombat 11.
Yeah. So
let's do it.
With that, Justin, what did you play the most and enjoy in 2024 in terms of fighting games?
I would say I put a fair amount to every game except for Strive, because I only played Strive when the game first came out during the pandemic. But when Mortal Kombat 1 first came out, I enjoyed just Baraka Cyrax. That was so fun. It was so good. And then Street Fighter 6, obviously the new DLC characters, they were really cool, with Bison and Akuma edition. Tekken 8, I mean, it was very explosive. Everyone was having a blast playing Tekken 8 because they finally added amazing rollback to a 3D fighting game. Right, so there was that option that was really, really cool, and they had the whole Sajam Slam thing. So I was playing a lot of Tekken and teaching a lot of Tekken. And then Grand Blue, I played so much of Grand Blue as well too, because it was one of those games I really enjoyed during the pandemic, but the netcode was ass. So pretty much it was really hard to play the game when you're just stuck at home. But Rising, they had rollback, they added all these new features, they added new mechanics. So that was really cool. Obviously, I played the crap out of the Marvel vs. Capcom collection.
Really?
As well, too. Yeah, I played a fair amount. And
have you ever heard of the Wazzler?
I personally think everybody had fun playing against the Wazzler. So that was really cool.
Legally change your name now, I think.
I actually anytime I sign up to a new game and it's what's your gamer tag? I actually just put Wazzler now.
Yeah, but Marvel Rivals fucked that over. Someone took it, right?
Yeah, I had to put a number.
Ah, bastard.
Wazzler 15 or something.
Should have been Wazzler number 1.
Yeah, number one Wazzler.
I don't know. I feel like that's like what young people would put
That
up.
is
Like
true.
the number one player, the number one tank at A or something.
If you want to
that.
go like 360 days, OMG, it's Wazzler.
Yeah,
OMG.
69
That's the-
XXX.
That's the AIM days.
Yeah,
AOL.com.
Yep.
Rage of Dragons I played. Also SVC Chaos I played. I mean, anything that's fighting game related, I'll probably buy it and give it a shot, you know? So even Virtua Fighter was really cool with the Revel with the beta. That was only for a few days. That was super fun as well too. I actually been in a mood lately, and I've been like going through the indie fighting games that have been coming out in 2024 and 2025 as well too. So I've been trying to play a lot more of those as well too. Just give it a shot, just because. You know, I feel like now, because so many fighting games are getting so popular, like everyone's like gonna play the AAA titles and everything. You know, I feel bad for the indie fighting games. You know, so I wanted to play a bit more of those and try to like show some light to those games. So we'll see. But I just play the crap ton of fighting games. That's really all I play. I don't really play much other games, but when I do, I get too absorbed.
I've noticed
I think
that.
the last 3 months, I played Metaphor, and I was like loving Metaphor too much. So I didn't play fighting games for like at least like I would say a month.
Yeah, like we talked about when we were talking about Clive and Tekken 8, that for like a good couple of weeks I was just playing Final Fantasy 16 on PC because it just released, and I don't know why. The game is like solid. It is what it is, but like it's not that great or complex of an RPG. But it's not supposed to be. But I was absorbed with that for a while, so I stopped playing like almost everything else.
Yeah,
and then like the Castlevania DLC and Vampire Survivors like consume me, and like I'm still not done unlocking anything in that. But yeah, like we talked about a bit with Guile Winco, whereas like I was saying how all the major fighting games, like I did enjoy them quite a bit when they launched, but you know I dropped off them pretty quickly because as I'm not as fighting game focused as you or as Ryan or as Max are, where it's like, you know, that's the majority of what you're playing. I definitely have a focus on fighting games, but it's like, you know, mostly a lot of other stuff too. So I kind of bounce around quite a bit. But when Terry came out in Street Fighter 6, that was like my impetus to like, okay, let me now go and actually play as Akuma, because when he came out originally, I didn't download him right away, so I was enjoying him. Then I did enjoy Bison for quite a bit, and since I really anticipating Mai and Elena, like I really hope those characters like are like they nail it with them, because the last three DLC characters are ones that I wanted to play, and hopefully they're really fun. So there you go. Street Fighter 6, like I did play that the most throughout the year, and while I wish costumes were way, way, way more frequent than what they are, because
Yeah.
I will purchase them if they're good for the characters I like. And while, you know, some of the DLC scheduling seems like really inconsistent, where you'll go months without news at all, and then 2 or 3 characters will release in close proximity to each other. There's always little issues with every game, but I still anticipate myself playing the rest of the DLC as it comes out in 2025. Personally, for me, I want to like give a shout out to like Rage of the Dragons. That was a really good port. I was really enjoying playing that, and like, you know, a tag fighter that very few people talk about outside of like Brazil or Mexico. So big shout outs for that. If no one's ever tried it, that's I believe still out only on Steam. Rage of the Dragons, or did that come out on consoles?
I'm not sure. I usually only play games on Steam anyway,
yeah.
right? That's just what it comes down to.
Yeah. Yeah. The only game where I kind of felt like, you know, I want to get back into this, but there's just something about, you know, the DLC or how things are going is just not exciting me is Tekken 8. Like, I still haven't started up that additional story chapter that got released. I think I downloaded Eddie, but I didn't play as him, and I didn't try Heihachi or Sobieska. So Lydia.
Lydia.
Yeah, and Clive too, yeah. So I just like when I go back to it or thinking about going back to it, I'm just like, like if I'm going to play a fighting game, like, let me start up Street Fighter 6 because I do think I generally had more fun with that. And Mortal Kombat 1, I do like I said before, I do want to try Noob, and I am interested in T1000 in terms of how he plays. Like, it's still kind of odd that we're doing Terminator 2 DLC, but still, because at least the Arnie in MK11 was, hey, we're kind of doing old Arnie as well, like the gray Terminator. So that kind of fed into Dark Fate, which came out a few months prior, et cetera, et cetera. So that kind of still made sense to me, but. And of course, Marvel vs. Capcom Collection was a big one. Like, they did such a fantastic job with that and preserving the museum, the online and stuff, which would lead me into talking about what we're looking forward to the most in 2025. Ryan, you mentioned Fatal Fury. Is there anything else in 2025 that's on the horizon that you're kind of interested in, or was that it for now?
My most anticipated of this year, like, I've got 3 games that I'm really looking forward to, and none of them are fighting games.
Sure.
Which
get out of this podcast or no? Okay.
No, let me just. What's that? The cane just comes in and just.
Yeah. Wow.
I feel like a lot of people are going to relate to this. First of all, Monster Hunter, Monster Hunter Wilds. I got into Monster Hunter when they did that sort of big resurgence happened. When they announced Wilds and people started playing World.
Yeah.
That's when I properly got into it, because I tried it for years before in different games and just couldn't figure out what I was doing. And then Mustard started streaming and had a stream full of people that can literally tell him what he's meant to be doing. All of a sudden, the game now makes sense. He then tells me, we both get into it. We're now both Monster Hunter obsessed. So excited to get into a Monster Hunter with prior knowledge, so I don't feel like I'm starting from the very beginning. I can get excited over the new changes and understand those changes. Right. So very, very much excited for that. The other 2 games, I can't believe I'm going to be able to play new versions of in the same year, is a new Doom and a new Turok.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad it's Turok, because I know you're into Turok, but I'm glad to know now that it's like top 3 anticipated. For me, and I think maybe this will echo over to you as well, it's like trepidatiously excited for it, because I do kind of feel from what they've shown, which admittedly isn't a lot, and it wasn't even like, full gameplay. I'm like, this could be something I actually really don't like. I hope it's not, but I'm still very happy that this exists and Turok's a thing. It's just, I'm not fully convinced this is exactly what I wanted, but we'll see.
I feel pretty much the same. Turok is one of my favorite franchises ever since I first started playing games. It's actually interesting, you mentioned you're doing like a sort of retrospect on like some of the Sam Show stuff. I'm actually working on a retrospect for the Turok franchise on video games. So I spent a lot of today recording the PC version of the 2008 Turok that came out. So, I'm kind of getting a broad spectrum of, because I played every Turok anyway, but I'm getting to remind myself a really wide variety of, there's definitely been the best and there's definitely been the worst. I'm just hoping that this new Turok still feels like Turok, in some way. The third person does concern me, but as long as the weapons have a real, weight to them and the combat loop is enjoyable and the enemy variety is a big one, it can't be just dinosaurs, because Turok isn't just dinosaurs. It's monsters, it's aliens. Yeah, exactly.
Weird, just flora and fauna, like scorpions or bugs, and like it's a menagerie of enemies, really.
Absolutely. So I hope, and it story-wise looks kind of faithful. It looks like you're all playing as different Turoks. There is not just one Turok with the mantle now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They mentioned an alien invasion, an alien threat that threatens humanity, so there's a lot of possibilities to kind of go a little bit into like Turok 2 Primogen with the elites and the light ship and whatever. So there's a lot of potential. And then Doom, Dark Ages. Don't really need to explain that too much. Love Doom. Doom Eternal was fantastic. Doom Dark Ages looks like very much a similar sort of game with different gameplay elements and a different setting. Kind of looks like they wanted to make Quake, but Doom was what they had to do.
Yeah.
I'm just very excited for a lot of my favorite games coming back, and then Monster Hunter being sort of the new one.
Gotcha.
For me.
What about you, Justin? 2025. What's looking hot?
I don't know.
There's
just
I got one in the back of my head. Like let's just say City of the Wolves is the obvious one, right?
I mean, City of Wolves is definitely hot. Like, I'm excited for City of Wolves.
But what's the other fighting game release that you should be excited about? It's old, though.
Wait, there's another one? Let's see. There's Hunter x Hunter. There is...
It's not
2XKO. Am I tripping?
There's a new Virtua Fighter coming out, isn't there?
Oh, I mean, we don't know when Virtua Fighter 6... No, we don't know when Virtua Fighter 6 comes out.
It doesn't have a date.
But Virtua Fighter 5 Revo is coming out on Steam at the end of this month.
Yeah, but it's Virtua Fighter 5.
Yeah, right. I mean, I'm excited because it's old. It's really pretty.
It's old.
It's old. It's really pretty.
It's old
new
games.
patch.
It's old games.
Yeah, old game.
I'm talking about. It's old games.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Oh, the CVS collection.
CVS collection.
Even though I love, what's the funniest part is? It's not even called the CVS collection, but we just refer it to the CVS collection.
Fighting
it's
game
Capcom
collection
Fighting
too.
Collection 2. Right? I'm excited for that. So that it's, I think of it as like it's another like MVC collection, but with CVS. Like, am I gonna play? Still to this day, I have not played any other game on the collection besides Marvel 2. And I feel like the CFC 2 might be the same thing. I might only just play CVS 2.
Maybe not for this one, dude. Power Stone. You're not gonna play Power Stone or Rival Schools.
Okay,
Get the fuck out.
The thing is, there's people online to terrorize. You don't understand.
Yeah.
I actually had a blast playing Plasma Sword, getting ready for it. But Alpha 3 Upper is not good compared to regular Alpha 3.
I'll give you that.
All right, Capcom Fighting Jam,
you need to terrorize on that. That'd be at least one video, at least one session.
Well, maybe we'll see. It's a terrible pick. Power Stone 1 is very good, but I personally did not like Power Stone 2.
Yeah, we
just playing through Power Stone 2. I'm like, man, what? Power Stone 1 was so good. What happened? That's what I was thinking, right? When I was playing Power Stone 2, like, what did you guys do? Why didn't you keep it the same way like Power Stone 1?
Max was moderating us last time we talked about this, where he's like, Power Stone 2 is a fantastic party game. Power Stone 1 is a fantastic fighting game. There's a difference. And I was like, okay,
Power
that's
Stone
fair.
1 was so good, though. It was amazing.
Yeah.
But I would say it would be the same thing with Ketchup, though. At least Monster Hunter Wilds, right? That's going to be super popular. But I don't even know what other games are coming out besides the fighting games.
Yes, when it's the start of the year, like you look at like stores, like storefronts for your consoles or Steam, and you look what's coming up, and there's only like a couple of games that have like their pages ready to go. Like, say this is coming out in 2025. There's only like a handful, so it's hard to remember. For me, like, I would say yes, easily City of the Wolves. So it's like my most anticipated, at least fighting game, because every time I've gotten hands-on, it's great. We've talked about it ad nauseum on the podcast. But yeah, Capcom Fighting Collection 2 is another big one because, again, throughout this entire run of our podcast, we've constantly been like, these games are never going to come out ever again. There's never going to be a new Power Stone collection. You just can't like logistically do it. Like, 3D games in a collection, they're harder to do and mix in with 2D games. Like, so that is definitely like a dream collection, like even more so than the other ones that come out for me. But like two non-fighting games I'm looking forward to is Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater Delta.
Oh, yes.
Metal Gear Solid 3 is like my top 5 of games ever. So, bringing David Hayter in and all the voice actors and them doing a lot of great promo work for the game has really made me like get hyped up for it. Even though it doesn't have a month date, it's 2025 for sure because they already have a pre-order page for it. So that, and then the new Double Dragon Revive. I've been getting...
Is that the Arc System one?
Yeah, it's the Arc System one. Even though I haven't gone hands-on with it, a good friend Liam was at Tokyo Game Show this year and did play it, and he is a self-proclaimed beat-em-up snob. he turns his thumb and his nose up at most beat 'em ups because they're not his cup of tea. They don't play like Streets of Rage 1 or 2. But he said, actually, I really enjoyed playing it. Like, it was really fun mechanics, and I would purchase this. Like, I was pretty impressed with it. And the game is like months and months away. It's got like an October release date. Got a bunch of characters in there, so really looking forward to that in 2025. For Max, he's not here, but I'll just also echo Monster Hunter for him as well. I think that's safe. I think that's safe.
2XKO doesn't have a set release date yet, does it?
I think it just says 2025, right?
If it is 2025, I will add that to my list because the co-op, the 2v2 in that, Mustard and I had so much fun arguing with each other.
That was my favorite part of the alpha tests, the alpha labs or whatever.
Isn't it? It was so cool.
Was the 2v2 and you're communicating. Yeah. I didn't care too much about solos as much just because it's like every character is the same. Like, it's just like, big combo, rinse and repeat, whatever. But arguing with with the partner of like, do this, do that, it's good, right? When it doesn't work, you're just like, it's your fault. But when it does work, it feels freaking amazing.
Definitely. If that is 2025, then I will obviously add that to my list. But
if it is 2025, it will be on my list depending on one factor, that Vi is announced for it from League of Legends / Arcane, and it's the specific Vi where she's a pit fighter and then she dyes her hair black and has a cool black jacket with like a logo with 2 chomping dogs. She looks so fucking cool. So if she gets announced and she has that skin, I'm like, okay, no. 2XKO, you're back on the menu.
I still haven't watched the show.
If she doesn't have that skin, you'll come down later down the line, you'll make a transaction, and I'm sure it will exist.
I will. I'll I know 1 or 2 people that work there. I'll be like, I'll petition them super hard if that's not already in the works.
That game will make so much money through skins alone.
I think
what I mean?
Yeah.
It's League. It's gonna have skins.
Pretty much.
But yeah, I guess that's about it for today's episode. Ryan, where can people find you on the internets?
You can find me mostly on YouTube, PNDKNM, that's short for Ketchup and Mustard. My brother Mustard, who is the streamer of the two of us, streams on twitch.tv/PNDKNM. So, my channel's a lot of Mortal Kombat, as you might expect, but I do try and do other games when I can, and that's actually something I want to do more this year, is focus on some other old fighting games that I grew up with, like Dark Rift and the like.
Nice.
Those that know.
Yeah, I know.
And, real quick, actually, and I don't know if this is a plug, but I did discover the Dark Rift uncompressed PC soundtrack by loading it in a USB CD player. I put the PC game in, I opened the disc, and it just brought up all the music uncompressed, no N64, and it was like the holy grail. It's like I just found a pot of gold.
Because it is great music, that game specifically.
It is. It's good memories. But yeah, just YouTube for PNDKNM, Twitch for PNDKNM, variety, fighting games, all that nerdy stuff. And thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
No problem.
Thank you.
So, yeah, we'll return next time with Max in tow, and he'll talk about Monster Hunter a bunch. So, see everyone until then.